Gerard, please summarise the situation regarding in-hospital acquired infections in Ireland and the UK.
I think there are a lot of attention around infections such as MRSA and C. difficile, etc. And Ireland and the UK would be similar to many countries in Europe, that you have anywhere between 5 to 10% of patients coming into hospital will acquire an infection that they didn't have on arrival. And this occurs really due to cross-contamination. And the primary vector for cross-contamination is the hands of healthcare workers.
What is it that your solution does?
What our solution does is really to measure the quality of hand hygiene events. So the challenge really is that obviously there's a lot of attention on hand hygiene, but sometimes healthcare workers can essentially be quite tokenistic in the sense that they'll squirt a piece of gel and they'll rub it on their hands but not pay a great deal of attention to how that liquid was applied. And consequently the bugs will stay on their hands, and so they're still contaminated. Studies have been done to show that about 6% of healthcare workers' hands are infected with MRSA after a hand hygiene event. Training will really improve the ability of the alcohol gels or soap and water to kill the bugs. Our system measures the quality of that hand hygiene event through making sure that the member of staff follows the WHO protocol in hand hygiene, making sure that all of the surfaces of the hands are covered. It does this by using a video camera to watch the hands and analyze the movement of the hands, and from that we can see whether all of the surface areas were covered. And it does this in real time, so you're getting real-time feedback. So every hand wash which occurs at one of our devices can be said to have achieved best practice. Okay. The device is primarily at the moment being used as a training tool, so it essentially can be placed onto the ward and staff can come up and train in the WHO protocol for hand hygiene. Normally this would require an infection control member to be present all the time. And it means that staff would have to leave the ward in order to achieve their training. Okay. With our device, the responsibility is now on the member of staff to get a few minutes to pass the device, perform their training, and the infection control nurse can spend time doing other infection control tasks rather than spending his or her time doing infection control training. The records from all of this training are kept on the machine, so that the infection control team also saves time in recording the hand hygiene training records for things like reporting to statutory bodies about that everybody in the hospital has achieved their training. Because it's a 24/7 device, it means that night staff and weekend staff are easy to reach. Normally they're a very big challenge for an infection control person to make sure that they achieve their training every year. Because it's not very labour intensive for the infection control team, it means that we can increase the frequency of training, which will improve quality. In fact, a German study showed that short burst training on the wards quite frequently will impact on the quality. And that study showed that they were able to reduce infections by about 50%, MRSA infections.
Sean, what about return on invest?
The return on investment from a Sure Wash system really comes in three ways. First of all, the time and effort from the infection control team. There is a reduction there in the amount of time that they need to use in regards to training, as Jerry has said, and also in regards to their report management. Secondly, the time that's taken for training of staff. Normally they would be required to come into a training room. This may take half an hour, an hour of their time. Even if that's done once a year, you multiply that by the number of hours, the number of staff in the hospital by an average hourly rate, that becomes a huge cost to the facility. With our system, training is done in short bursts on the ward, so during their working hours. A 3-minute session is what's needed at the machine, and this can be done multiple times, but there is no increased cost to the hospital, so they receive a return on investment there. Thirdly, then, we have the return on investment against a reduction in infection. It has been shown that increasing compliance by healthcare workers will reduce the infection rate within a hospital or healthcare facility. A reduction in the infection rate within a facility will return itself to the hospital in shorter bed stays for patients, thereby giving the hospital a better return in cash terms. So there are three forms of return on investment regarding this product.
Are you looking into hospitals in the German-speaking area?
SureWash is a very new, innovative product, and we are literally just launching the product in the Irish and UK markets at present, but we are also looking into Europe, and Germany is definitely a market that we are looking to move into over the coming months.